Spike's New Brother, Chapter 3. A Brother from Another World. Moments later after the fight. Why is this happening? Spike thought as he was still running tears in his eyes. Why after all these years? Why did she do this? How could she throw me away like that? We were a family. You were my sister, and I thought I was your brother, so why? Why? Were all these years just a lie? When she became a princess, I was no longer needed? Is that why she kept me around? So many questions were running through the young dragon's mind, as well as mixed emotions. Anger, hurt, and sadness were all swirling around. Spike stopped in his dead tracks, no longer able to take these emotions flowing. At that moment he clenched his claws, closed his eyes, opened them again, and just roared while doing so. He spewed the mightiest green flame he could muster. It was a beam of pure energy that was shot to the sky. It was hot and mighty, and it looked as if it was going to penetrate the heavens of Equestria. It was so powerful and majestic the dragons on the outskirts of Ponyville saw and heard this. They only shook their heads in sadness. Amongst them was a dragon that Spike had met some years ago, when he first ran away from Twilight when he thought her new assistant was an owl, replacing him. Razor Fang was his name, and he couldn't recognize the dragon's roar, but he knew the flame, and all he could do was shake his head in sadness as well. That poor little dragon, he must be suffering a very painful heart. Heck, maybe even a dragon heartbreak, and no young dragon should ever go through that. Razor Fang grimaced at Spike's pain. Whoever did this must be sure proud of themselves. If it was my child, I would go out and find who did this to him so I could melt the flesh off their bones, he said with anger in his voice. Meanwhile, at the Golden Oaks Library, Twilight had not moved from her spot. She kept gazing out the front door of the library where once stood Spike, her #1 assistant, and her little brother. Twilight shook her head, trying to focus on the now. She had to go and find him, and she started racing for the door, and her wings started to unfold, getting ready to take off into the sky. But she was stopped by a loud yell that can be heard around the world. Stop right there, Twilight Sparkle. Don't you dare go near my son. You've hurt him more than enough, and quite frankly, I'm shocked and appalled that you are my student, and you better explain to me what in the name of Tartarus is going on. Celestia said with an upsetting, booming voice only a mother could produce, to the heartbreak of her only son. We thou second that, Princess Luna shouted as well. What has gotten into you, young mare? And it better be a good explanation. If not, the punishment for what you've done here tonight will be something no pony has ever experienced. No pony hurts my nephew, and I mean no pony. Well said, Princess of the Night, Rarity added in the nastiest, meaningest look that she had ever donned upon her face. How can you do that to him? I know more than any pony how loyal he can be, how he can be the sweetest, gentle coat of all time despite of him being a dragon, Rarity said, even while every pony could see a shade of pink that was showing on her cheeks. The only reason why I didn't accept his feelings despite his obvious crush on me was because of his age. If I knew you were treating him like this, and this hurt him on his birthday for Equestria's sake, his birthday, Twilight, I would have had him move in with me the moment he had his growth spurt. He is your brother, darling. He needs love from his friends and family. If you don't give it to him as a sister, then I will give it to him as a special sun pony. He's waited long enough. And to be frank, he deserves a whole lot better than some pony like you. Now, hold it right there, Sugar Cube. I disagree with you being the only one to care for him, and I'm saying you'll be a special sun pony, but that's an argument for another day, Applejack butted in. But yeah, you have a point when you say that the pony is not the Twilight Sparkle we know and love. She would never hurt Spike the way she is. Applejack, Twilight pleaded, but... Oh no, don't start acting all friendly now, because if by all rights, I should turn myself around and buck you in the face so hard you'll be in the hospital for 6 weeks. She then quickly turned to Rainbow Dash. Hey, Dash, you all better go follow Spike. Don't try to talk to him, just, keep an eye on him. Let him blow off some steam. You got it, but I'll do my best, but no promises. After all, I am the element of loyalty. Rainbow Dash saluted with a sly smirk. But still, Spike has gotten so fast since he had that growth spurt. Whatever type of dragon his father was, he must have been a speed demon. I can't wait for him to get his wings, because if he's that fast on his feet, just how fast he thinks he is when he gets his wings. We'll make the ultimate flight couple, the fastest couple in Equestria. I like the sound of that, Rainbow Dash squealed with a big smile on her face. With that, she went to turn around to fly out the door. However, she stopped in mid-flight, grabbing Twilight, yanking her inches off the ground to look at her dead in the eyes. You better have a good reason for why you act like a pure good-for-nothing, or, you're gonna be in for it big time. And you better hope Celestia and Luna are there to stop me, because, well, you better hope you don't find out, she told her menacingly. She dropped Twilight and went flying out the door, creating a sonic rain boom in her wake to try to catch up with Spike. Twilight just sat there and blinked. She'd never seen Rainbow Dash like that. However, next was Pinkie Pie, and Twilight was afraid because every pony knew what happens when she gets mad. Yeah, let's just say, that ain't a pretty sight. She trotted over to Twilight, looked at her up and down, circled around her, then looked at her up and down again. Twilight? Said Pinkie Pie. I know the magic helps us solve our problems from time to time. However, you should have never been reading that book. I told you that spell had bad mojo on it, she said with a stern look. But I forgive you. I know that wasn't you and you would never hurt Spike, but your family and friendship with him is another story. Twilight, this is the greatest crisis that has ever happened here in my opinion, and there have been some doozies. She started heading out for the door, but she turned around and gave Twilight a hug. This may be your greatest challenge yet, but don't give up. I'm gonna go help with Rainbow Dash and help her search. 2 ponies are better than 1. Besides, I can't let my Spiky Bear be all alone if my plans for the future hope to come true. I need to show him that I'll be there for him when he needs it. She chuckled and gave the sweetest, most passionate smile as her cheeks turned crimson red. So, see ya! With that, she raced off in a pink blur. Twilight felt some relief, yet was puzzled by what she just said, and yet wasn't because she knew what she meant. Even if Twilight did find Spike, he may not ever forget or forgive her for what she had done. That night from over the last few weeks, or longer. You know, that went better than I thought. It was Pinkie Pie, though, replied Twilight in a casually relaxed tone. Here I thought she would go crazy on me, but... Wait a minute. Spiky Bear? Future play... What? Fluttershy was up next. Then she was the most saddened at the situation, but what she did shocked every pony. She slapped Twilight across the face. And Twilight just sat there, rubbing where she slapped her gently. Yeah, I know Fluttershy was knocking the taste out of some pony's mouth, but hey, don't mess with Fluttershy's friends and family, and especially her special Sun Pony. Anyway, back to the story. Everyone in the room's jaw dropped. Fluttershy, I didn't expect you from that girl, Applejack added, still shocked at what happened. Fluttershy was gladly accepting the compliment from Applejack, but didn't take her eyes off Twilight's sparkle. I don't know if it was a spell or not, she said in a soft yet serious tone, but you might have just destroyed a beautiful friendship between you and Spike as a brother and a sister. All I can tell you right now is to use all of your power you have until your last breath to make up with Spike. If you can't do that, then you don't deserve any of us as your friend, but know this. If you fail, then I'll use all of my love to save him. The moment she said that, Twilight's ears perked up and her eyes widened to the size of tennis balls. Well, her pupil, that is. You get the point. Love? You mean friendship love, right? Like, not love? Twilight asked, as if she was expecting Fluttershy to be playing as a joke. No, replied Fluttershy. Love him as my special Sun Pony. And with that, she took off after Pinkie Pie and Rainbow to look for Spike. Once again, Twilight's jaw made a great effort to hit the floor, still shocked from what she had seen and heard in only 30 minutes. Yesterday felt like everything was just any other ordinary day with her and Spike having fun with her friends. The next day, everything she knew had changed. Spike had grown, and now her friends seemed to care more about Spike than usual, more than just a friend. Twilight bowed her head and started rubbing it with her hoof. And Twilight tried to figure out what had just happened over the last few weeks with her friends and her little number 1 assistant, aka little brother. Then it dawned on her. She turned around to see a sly smirk on Applejack's face. Well. Seems like you finally get what's going on around here. You know, it's not just the 5 of us have fallen in love with Spike. Most mares in Ponyville have their eye on him. And that goes for me, too, Applejack answered as she tipped her hat to Twilight. Twilight, I can already tell that you didn't mean a word you said. I noticed the dark magic on you when you first came in here. Then the dark aura disappeared after you got hit by that magic blast. You can fill us in all the details later. Now this cowgirl better get moving. She doesn't want her love rivals getting ahead of her. See you, Sugar Cube? With that, she galloped off to the others. Once again, there was Twilight sitting in the same spot, opening and closing her mouth like she was about to try and explain the situation, but didn't really have any luck. Okay, I can't say what's going on, but so far I know I messed up a spell which was supposed to help me focus and get Spike's surprise birthday party ready for him, but apparently it made me so focused on false threats to Equestria for the past week that I guess in time I completely ignored everyone around me and I treated them spitefully. This spell most certainly is a spell that's meant to harm others and bring disharmony and chaos, but... She said in a quieting tone until she took a deep breath. When the hay did my little brother become a Casanova around here? Especially with 5 of my dearest friends. Wait, the whole town had eyes on him? When did he get so big? He's just a hatchling. They can't be interested in him like that. Can they? Twilight was losing it on the spot. She just couldn't believe this. She was wrapping it up in her mind around this information. She knew that he would get older and that he would look more handsome, but not enough for every mare in Ponyville to be after him. But before she could continue to ponder, she heard her mentor, Princess Celestia and Princess Luna, call her out. That is for later. Right now we want answers. So far I understand that the spell you used is the problem, but we want to know more about this book. What spell did you use and why didn't you ask us before using it if it's going to cost this much trouble? If I had known this spell was going to hurt my son like this, then whatever book it was, if it's 2,000 or 10,000 years old, it would be destroyed immediately. Well put, dear sister, replied Luna. Indeed, our magic spells help us focus on a task, but sometimes spells backfire, and it can end up hurting ones we love so bad that you can never get the love and friendship back again. I know that more than any pony all too well. Celestia looked at her sister with a smile. Yes, sister, but you managed to come back from that line of no return. Back to the point, what spell did you use? Where did you get it, and how does this dark aura surround you come to play? Twilight hung her head shamefully. She knew they were right. Forgive me, both of you. I've been a fool. I all started when I wanted to plan for Spike's birthday party. I wanted to do something big for him, now that he can control his greed, but I couldn't focus. I was so worried how we were going to protect every pony in Equestria. Celestia looked at her student and smiled. Well, I understand your fear. It has also crossed my mind many times back then, Twilight, but that does not explain the dark aura surrounding you. Now, tell me, what book did you get this spell from? Asked Celestia. I don't know, to tell you the truth. The book arrived... She paused, turning white. Before the beginning of the month when I planned for Spike's party. The princesses looked down to each other with shocked expressions, then back at Twilight. Twilight nodded and then dashed towards the shelves. She went to retrieve the book in question, and the moment she pulled the book out from the shelf and placed it on the table in the living room, they knew that this book was the cause of the trouble. Twilight shook her head in disbelief, then looked at Princess Celestia and Luna. I can't believe I didn't notice. This book is just spewing dark magic, replied Twilight, still shaking her head in disbelief. At first glance, the book didn't seem evil. It was a light brown with your primary book cover, which was covered in orange, and in bold writing, spells to help you focus on these troubling times. My dear Twilight, how could thou sense this rare high-level magic beyond your years? Luna then proceeded to flare up her magic horn as it began to grow with the colors of the night sky. She pressed her horn against the book to review its true nature of it. It was old and tattered at first glance. The book still didn't seem to cause any harm to any pony, and it just looked like an old, raggedy book. However, the princesses could sense the dark magic pressure spewing from the book's covers and pages as if the gates of Hades were opening up inside the library before them. The princesses knew all this too well who sent the book. King Sombra, Celestia and Luna said both in unison. Twilight gasped in shock. How could that be? Spike destroyed him! Just then the smog from the book formed a mirror out of nowhere, and in the reflection was the Dark King Unicorn himself, laughing as though he'd already won. Well, if it isn't my 3 lovely princesses are watching this, then my revenge is complete. I finally got even with that little dragon. Who would have thought a little hatchling beast could beat me, much less destroy me? Respects, though. Dragons are amazing creatures. After all, even the youngest can be the most deadly. While I was in the darkness of the void, I thought to myself, I cannot let this stand. If I must go, then I'll let that little dragon know my wrath. So before my body and mind dissipated into nothingness, I watched the ponies that he loved were getting ready for his special day. I thought to myself, what can be better than to have his own family that he trusts so much with all of his heart and soul betray him? So, I had one of my faithful servants send Twilight the book and of course disguise it to make sure no pony would recognize that it wasn't even her usual books. I knew that the little princess would most likely use magic to solve her little problems as she does with all of her other problems. Oh yes, I do know that you are no longer having the elements of harmony after all. I'm the only one that caused Discord's magic roots to grow after so many centuries of lying dormant. It wasn't peculiar now that they grew 2 months after you got back from your adventure from the other world right before his birthday. Was it Spike? Is that his name? King Sombra paused and questioned himself, placing a hoof under his chin. Never did get it while we were fighting. Anyway, the spell is quite simple. It focuses on the strongest negative thought which causes its victim to take only action on the thought. Anything else is irrelevant or getting into the way of said thought. Say, like Twilight's obsessiveness to find a way to protect Equestria without the elements. It was a long shot after all. This book could have easily been lost or destroyed, and it only works on the intended victim. However, I give a little bonus to make sure it took effect. I imputed it with all of my lasting remaining magic, which would have caused the victim to only focus on that goal and treat others with hatred and disharmony. Most of all, Chaos believing if they were trying to get in their way. If all has gone well and you're sensing this message now, then little Princess Twilight has done what I thought she would do, relying on magic way too much and ending up losing love of friendship of her dearest little #1 assistant, aka your little brother. Oh wait, he's not that anymore, is he? Happy birthday, Spike! May you have much more! King Sombra evilly laughed as he started to fade. Then the smoke went back into the book, and then the book disappeared into thin air as if it never existed. The room went silent until Twilight spoke up, tears in her eyes as well as anger. That monster! He couldn't handle that Spike had defeated him, so what does the coward do? Use me to hurt my brother! Well, his plan hasn't worked yet. I'll do all I can. As long as it takes, I will win back my brother's friends and their trust. The two princesses looked at each other and realized that the Twilight they had spoken to them before was not their Twilight, and that one was Celestia's old, faithful student. At that moment, Twilight's mother, father, and brother galloped towards her. Thank goodness, said her mother. My daughter has returned to us. I'm so glad to have you back, sweetie, her father added with a bright smile, which changed to a concerned look. I just hope that the damage you've done thanks to that monster can be repaired. Spike looked very hurt, Twilight. I've never seen him so hurt in my life. Shining Armor let out a big sigh. Oh boy, it's gonna take everything we have to fix this problem. After all, blood or no blood, we are family, and family sticks together. Twilight just started crying at hearing that, so much that her mother, father, and brother consulted her, trying to cheer her up. She got herself together and ran out the door, and then she turned back to her family. I must find my little brother. I need to find a way to make it up to him. It might take me months, even years, but Equestria is my witness. I will do whatever it takes to win back my little brother, and this time, never letting him go. With that, her family looked at each other, then yelled out at her. Wait for us! We're coming too! And as they ran behind her, leaving the two princesses in the library alone. Celestia had tears in her eyes, and Luna noticed this and went to console her sister. There, sister. Twilight is back to her old self. I know she can easily make up with her friends and help get Spike back, and when they do, we will celebrate his party right away. Luna said in a cheerful tone, but alas, Celestia did not share her enthusiasm. She only turned to her sister with sadness in her eyes.